Nope. No standstills in this
See,
list.
I've talked to a couple people who play Merfolk, and I asked them, "What is your opinion of standstill?" Standstill being a one and a blue enchantment that says whoever blinks first. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not true. Whoever plays a spell, its opponent
Draws
draws
3
three cards,
cards.
and you sacrifice standstill. Just look at each other until somebody makes the first move, and then the opponent gets to draw cards off of it. So
Yeah.
usually you build your deck around making sure they make the first move, so you can ancestral.
So things
Versus,
like Aether Vial are very good in that case. Things like Manlands, like the Mutavaults and the Wastelands, all the stuff, the traditional stuff that Merfolk plays, are very good with Standstill. But it is more of a traditionalist type of card. Hasn't really found um, the same following as when uh, as before Cavern of Souls came out. There used to be Standstill was 100% a mainstay in Merfolk decks. Now it is more of a um, weird sideboard card, if anything.
absolutely. Um, I do think it should be seeing a little bit more play though.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's quite good. Standstill in general, well, especially in Legacy, just sometimes has the potential to bite your butt because oh, no second land from Alex. This is going to be rough for him.
oh
Um, but
no.
occasionally, you can get wasted off of your own lands and be forced to break your own standstill, and that's really the worst case scenario.
You know, I mean, is it though? What if you're playing like Black Vice?
Well, the oft played combo of Black Vice Standstill.
When that bat hits you in the face, you're gonna feel
Oh
it.
yeah, you definitely feel
You'll
that,
feel it. All right.
100%.
So what is Alex doing, keeping a one-lander with Merfolk with no Aether Vial?
Um,
What is
that's a
his?
good question.
Is he just like? Was he just like? Okay, I have
Well,
Force of
the
Will.
hand is actually great if you draw another land because of the chalice, because of
Here comes
all these
TNN.
things. But we're gonna get to do a Force of Will war here.
Pitching TNN. A TNN dies for the sake of TNN.
Yeah, and then his true name Nemesis for the uninitiated,
And another
and
Force
another
off the
Force of
top.
Will. So not doing much, getting in for one is about all he can do.
This is not what Merfolk wants to be doing. If anybody's curious,
Yeah, not at all.
I'm
Not
pretty
at all.
sure anybody in Standard could be beating this deck right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Force of Will is quite a good card, but you know, has a long way to go. So Fred does have 4 mana and is going to play the Jace. Probably also going to get Force of Willed. And another True Name Nemesis. So Alex obviously not um, favoring that
Nope, he's
too
he's on his
much.
way to summoning Cthulhu. Once you
Yeah.
pitch the fourth true name to force a will, he
He'll summon
emerges from the
Cthulhu.
seas as a
But Alex
special action.
does have the Aether Vial here, so maybe this hand is going to be saved. Got a couple of lords, going to be swinging for a bunch soon.
Well, you kill him slow, you kill him fast, you kill him anyways. But at a certain point, there's I mean, Aether Vial is an incredibly good card against
Yeah.
blue decks.
So this is going to find one of the lords, I would think. But Aether Vial really, really tying the whole Merfolk together, along with Cavern of Souls, just giving a giant bird to blue decks, saying, "I don't like your counter spells, man. I'm gonna get around them any way I want to."
Right. Deathblade, unfortunately for Deathblade, it only actually plays. He's only playing 3/4 wills in the main, anyways. So he's going to be a reactive. Uh, he's going to be reactive in his removal,
Yeah.
in his way to trade,
Hmm.
so that he doesn't get completely blown out. But aside from the fact that Aether Vial deals with counterspells very well, it's one of the only cards in Magic that instant speeds dudes.
Yeah. This is
And
gonna be very tough for Alex to deal with, though. Just hard cast a Batterskull. Um, and I will note that Fred did make the Master of the Pearl Trident over Lord of Atlantis for a reason. Lord of Atlantis gives your opponent's Merfolk +1/+1 in Island of Walk as well as your own. So if Fred had a true name, then his own guy would get pumped from Alex's Lord. So making the slightly more optimal pick of Master of the Pearl Trident, which would not give his true name +1/+1.
little things like that to pay attention in older formats, because
Yeah.
in newer formats the R&D department has shifted to only pumping any lord-like effects, that those are any kind of tribal synergy, Merfolk pumping Merfolk, that sort of thing, only affect your side of the board, versus the in years past it was everyone,
Yeah.
right? Slivers pumped everybody. Slivers are one of the hardest ones to keep track of.
So this is interesting. Silvergill with the Aether Vial trigger on the stack, so you get your 2 and increase it to 3.
Actually, and Alex almost missed.
Yeah, he
almost
did.
missed.
He almost
But
did.
he didn't do it. If you activate Aether Vial on stack on the upkeep, and then flash in Silvergill Adept, okay, he must draw before ticking up the Aether Vial trigger. Or if he went ahead and ticked up that Aether Vial trigger,
Then he would have missed his May draw.
he has missed his May draw, and
So this is 9 damage coming in.
unblockable.
Yeah, island walking damage, and that's a GT. You know, this is the best race of a Batterskull I think I've seen in a very long time.
Sometimes you pay the iron price for Force of Will.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Fred doesn't have anything, he's just dead.
Yeah, that's
Which actually goes a long way to show how good Lord of Atlantis is against blue decks. I
Okay.
mean, traditionally, Merfolk just really eats up blue decks.
Is that a Dark Depths or
No, that's
a
Academy Ruins.
Academy Ruins. Okay, so Academy Ruins out for Fred. I have no idea. Okay, that's
Yeah, and he's just dead. He is just dead.
we call this situation dead on board,
Yeah, that we do.
because he is completely wrecked, and he sees it. Do not shuffle the token into your deck, and good game, fishies. All right, moving on to game 2.
Yeah, so despite a very loose keep, seemingly from Alex, it pays off in the end, and the fish rule supreme.
That was
the fish
real-
really do rule the island.
Yeah, that
man.
was super lucky though. Like I don't know if Alex knew what his opponent was, but keeping a non-basic one-lander in this format is asking to get kicked in the balls.
Yeah, I would assume that Alex probably did know what his opponent was on, because he kept. And Deathblade's mana is so harsh. I mean, you're running 4 colors, and you just don't have any space for Wasteland in a 4-color deck like that, unless you're also running Loam, which we saw last round.
Right, 4-color Loam is the only deck that can support 4 colors with Loam in it. Unless he has it on the board, might blow our minds. Let's see. No, he does not.
Yeah.
Coming out for Fred to see if he can battle back against the Merfolk, we have a Pithing Needle to shut down possibly Rish
Aether Vial.
Imports, Aether Vials. Now, important
Even
thing to note, Wasteland is also, Pithing Needle is one of the few 1-mana hate cards that you can bring in that hits lands.
Yeah.
A lot of people prefer Pithing Needle over, say, something like Stifle, or what's another good hate card that kind of fills that void? Revoker.
Yeah, Revoker.
Revoker does not hit lands, although it's a dude, which is why certain Aether Vial decks would rather play him over Pithing Needle. But because Fred isn't playing any Aether Vials, he's going to want to rely on the Pithing Needle a lot in this sideboard matchup. Also, Containment Priest probably. Anything that gets vialed in immediately gets blocked by Containment Priest. So vials become useless if that hits the board. Probably not bringing in any more counter spells, as we've proven those to be bad. Engineering Explosives is a good one.
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of the majority of Merfolk's deck is all 2-drops. You know, all the Lords are 2-drops. The Silvergill Adepts are 2-drops. And it's interesting because Alex is actually not playing any Regeries, so he doesn't have any 3-drop Lords.
Really?
Yeah,
No Regeries?
no Regeries.
Just jamming the cheapest fish possible. Sounds like discount sushi night.
And another interesting thing that we see Alex doing is not boarding in his 3 back to basics, which would be totally backbreaking against Fred's mana base. But we see that Alex just doesn't think that he needs them. And I actually agree. I think back to basics is there for a different matchup. I think you want it against things like Miracles and things like Shardless Bug, where you're just trying to choke them off resources a lot. And Shardless Bug really doesn't actually have any basics to run.
Against lands,
Yeah.
and the 2 decks we saw last round, those
Yeah,
are great
exactly. Oh,
against
it's
those.
insane.
Back to basics. Do
He,
you like...
he only boards in the Submerges and the GT, the extra GT.
Interesting. So attacking his mana base is not something he wants, especially because there's just not enough islands to go around. Is that kind of how it went? Okay.
Yep.
So if he had a Blood Moon or possibly another kind of enchantment-based hate, like Choke is really popular in Legacy, but again, for the same reasons, we wouldn't see that probably be played.
A Choke would actually be played more if blue decks with green could play it favorably against other blue decks, but it's obviously impossible as it taps down everybody's islands.
Yep.
And everybody gets choked out.
Man, you really haven't seen 50 Shades of Grey?
No. Oh, and Alex actually brought in the cursed totems too. So that will...
What does Cursed Totem do, Kevin?
it says that creatures' abilities can't be played, I believe. So that'll be good against Deathrite Shamans, be good against Stoneforge Mystics, things of that nature. And of course, no Merfolk have activated abilities.
Alex leading off with no Aether Vial. Okay. If Alex is able to get this Cursed Totem, it's probably going to get ripped out of his hand right now. As we see Alex dropping a Warping Whale into his deck, thinking he's Eldrazi. Maybe we should tell him.
He actually has 2 in the main.
We should tell him.
Warping Whale is a real card that you can play in things like Merfolk and things like Goblins, because of the amount of non-basic lands that you have that produce waste. Mutavault, Wasteland, and Cavern of Souls all pay for Warping Whale very well.
Showing you guys exactly kind of how the power level of that card's creeping into Legacy slowly. It started in the Eldrazi deck as a 4-of in the Stompy decks, and people really started appreciating it, especially because
it's so versatile.
It's incredibly versatile. Countering the sorcery is going to be very useful for a lot of decks. Making a 1/1 won us round 1.
Yeah, that did.
And then killing a guy, that's
great.
You always want to be.
Yeah, I would love to do that basically every time. So getting one of the lords, not that worried about Cursed Totem here. Although he is going to be saying that my Deathrite's not going to do anything unless...
Okay, interesting brainstorm again.
So he wanted to use the Deathrite Shaman while he still could, but I still probably would have waited until he played Cursed Totem to fire off that brainstorm.
He just brainstorm locked himself too.
No fetch land there. Although he does have an Enlightened Tutor in hand to be able to shuffle if he so chooses. But that's a Cursed Totem. And that Deathrite Shaman is a pretty sad 1/2 right now.
I've had a lot of sad 1/2 Deathrite Shamans in my time playing Legacy.
You got some nice squires going on.
Yep. And you know what? They're still good.
I mean,
even as 1/2s.
Good might be an overstatement.
Not against fish, obviously. Like, I don't know if you want some dude.
It's pretty awkward because Fred did not find a second land, I don't think.
No.
And he definitely cannot Enlighten Tutor for one. Playing no Seed of the Synod type lands.
There's the Pithing Needle we see.
I'm going to be curious to see what this Pithing Needle names. Probably Aether Vial, if I had my guess.
I would pick Wasteland.
Yes, Wasteland would also be a great pick right now, as he is locked on lands and mana sources with that Cursed Totem.
Yeah, Wasteland would just completely wreck him. Like, Wasteland, I would take it out too much. Oh, True Name Nemesis.
So
making always an appearance, but never on the board.
Yeah, well, he had the option to play True Name this turn, but opted for the Silvergill, as Silvergill requires a Merfolk to be revealed from the hand, or it costs 5. And that was his only other Merfolk, so he opted for the Silvergill instead.
Yes, never pay the iron price for Silvergill.
Yeah, oh, it's so bad. Bad.
Alex ripping a Force of Will. This game is looking very much his favor.
Yeah. Fred's going to have to draw real well to get out of this one.
True Name hitting the board. It doesn't even ask if it resolves.
Not wanting to trade his Silvergill for the Deathrite Shaman, very interestingly, though.
Swordsing.
But even swordsing it regardless. Just wanted to draw a Lord to make that Silvergill out of better. I don't know about swords right there. I think there are better threats from Merfolk that you can hit with it. But he just wants to keep his life total high because of that true name.
Fred has
Just
an
swinging
interesting
in.
choice of picking a land here because if he chooses Island, he's going to be susceptible
Yeah,
to
he turns
lords.
on he turns on Lord of Atlantis, but I don't think you could not pick Island in this particular place. Alex shuffling despite
No,
giving it back, and then
not despite anything. Oh, he chooses not to counter the Stoneforge. Okay, I'm not sure.
I think that's totally fine.
Stoneforge is
Just warping will the Stoneforge and then attack for a bunch.
Oh,
And
he
then
also
you have the
just
force of will for the Batterskull if ever it happens.
right. He also just found the 2-mana clone, that one. Which okay, this is probably the best target to clone something with.
Oh my goodness, so good.
He also
Oh,
named
yeah.
Illusion with the second Cavern of Souls, making it impossible for Fred to.
To counter it, even if he could.
Now the greatest. Okay, so this is a savage drawback with the Illusion, the 2-drop clone. What it does is, if it gets targeted with anything, spell activated ability just becomes the target of either of those. It gets binned immediately.
Yeah.
Now, if it clones True Name Nemesis, your opponent is actually never able to target it because it has protection from the opponent. So, basically, just a straight up another True Name Nemesis. And why True Name isn't legendary, I don't know.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And they could have done so many things to not screw up Legacy by printing True Name. They could have made it like a 6-drop 4/4, or they could have worded it slightly differently. There are some ideas floating around Twitter
If you really
go
care.
deep. Yeah.
Yep.
But they could have made it legendary. But they did none of those things, and it is a force to be reckoned with.
100%.
Very hard to deal with. Have to wrath it away or enter into explosives, ratchet bomb, some type of that.
I do
effect.
appreciate that it has a 1 toughness, so that
Yes.
it can die to stuff like Golgari Charm
Night of
or
Soul's Betrayal.
Night of Soul's Betrayal or the Leyline.
Yeah.
Is there a Leyline? No. Sorry, the enchantment.
Night of Soul's Betrayal.
No, there's another one that just gives
The Curse of Death's Hold.
Curse of Deathhold. Curse of Deathhold's one of my all-time favorite cards to play in Standard.
Oh man,
Just
what a great card!
it's
What
a
great card.
the Night of Soul's Betrayal's problem is it's legendary.
Yeah.
The Curse of Deathhold's not, and you can stack that up, and it only affects your opponent. So, yeah, True Name Nemesis 100% dies to all these answers that we talked about. Fred is in a very interesting position because he can't crack his fetch going down to 6 as lethal next turn. He's got a useless Deathrite Shaman
Yeah.
that is
And
doing.
any Lord draw that Alex has is lethal because he can activate a Mutavault and just kill him afterwards.
Absolutely.
So Fred's in a real tough spot. He needs a miracle, but he's not running any.
Hope you're proud of yourself.
I am.
Okay, I I see Alex taking this one without too much. Without I don't know. We had like a 2 to 5% chance of Fred winning at this point.
Yeah, I would say that that's about right.
Just looking through all of the cards that he has right now, he has nothing to stop the True Names. He will have to race with Batterskull damage, but he can't crack this fetch. Oh,
Yeah,
and there it is.
That's the game. I mean, this really shows how well Merfolk matches up against blue decks. It's very hard once Merfolk gets going with things like True Name Nemesis and Lord of Atlantis to deal with all of their threats.
Absolutely. Okay, and that wraps. Is that the match?
That is the match, just straight 2-0 to Alex. We're going to try and find another one for you guys.
Merfolk is actually a pretty good deck against Esper Stoneblade, I think.
Oh, yeah. If they're playing Islands, it's you're probably favored.
Any deck playing islands against is that what you're saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
any deck playing islands against fish is going to have a bad time.
Except old school Solidarity. Always had a good matchup against fish. They had one like Daze and Force and Curse Catcher. Ignore that stuff.
All right, so Solidarity being the one exclusion.
And it was all islands. You'd think it'd be great against Merfolk, or Merfolk would be great against it.
All right. We have I'm looking at the Twitch chat